What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the bearded comic bro, and I am joined by a slew of people tonight as we are doing a massive group interview. We're talking about the Kickstarter that is going on, Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. I've got Travis, and Travis brought, you all know Travis from, he's been on my show a lot. He brought a bunch of friends over who are involved with the Kickstarter. So real quick, Travis, what is this Kickstarter that we're talking about? And
Bearded, we're closer than that. Let's calm it down. Tell me about Batman in the Riddler. Were you happy?
I was thrilled.
All right, we don't have time to talk about that. Like, we have a show, we're professionals, but I just wanted to know.
I was thrilled.
Important to me. All right.
Yes, because I last
have a Batman
interview, you asked if I was going to look forward to it, and I said yes, and I was thrilled. So
I was super thrilled when the demasking happened and we saw the Riddler that we know, and that just shows how good of a fanboy the director is.
Right, and the fact that Paul Dano's glasses look exactly like Jim Carrey's glasses when he was in Batman Forever.
So
Come
good.
on.
Sorry. So yes, Cthulhu Invades Wonderland is what I got. It is a great book. It is 200 plus pages. I have 70 creators, 34 stories, all mishmashed to make this amazing thing. It's a sequel to Cthulhu Invades Oz, which is where Beard and I first met. Started our romance that we have going, our love affair.
I prefer to call it a bromance.
Bromance. Okay. All right. I consider it partners in crime to take out, the burritos, because they get cocky over there. They get cocky.
They do.
So we got to get together sometimes and be like, children, sit.
Calm it down.
You got a nice show over here. Be ashamed if something happened. But yeah. So I brought some of my friends here. I normally do the solo thing. In fact, we were just here last month, it feels like, for Granite State Punk. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which is being shipped out. I have it right here. It's already being shipped out, doing some stuff. Already started that, which is cool. But yeah, so this book is live at CthulhuInvades.com, and we're doing really well. We're halfway. No, we're not even a weekend, and we're very close to funded. So we're doing great.
Oh, well, why are we even doing this interview then?
Because it's $30,000 is why we need to do this interview, Bearded.
What am I here for then? You guys are almost funded.
But yeah,
every little bit helps. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely. So why don't we run through the panel and just kind of talk about, who you are and what you're working on with this book. We'll talk about this book, and then we'll kind of run through the panel again and just talk about some other stuff that you have going on and that you've worked on before or that you got coming up. So Warren, why don't you kick us off with kind of what's your involvement with this book?
I am the artist for the story written by Pete Rossetti named Henches, about the four of the card soldiers battling in the trenches to fend off Cthulhu monsters from taking the Rose Garden. And it's kind of like a little snapshot in time with a pause between the battles, and you get to see kind of what they're going through and what's happening. It's a real fun story to work on.
Nice. Excited for that. Nice. Russell, what are you working on with this anthology?
I was the writer of Down the Cthulhu Hole, which is the first Alice story. Alice is a recurring character throughout the book, which is new for this volume. And I wrote sort of her descent back into Wonderland. And I took a lot of the inspiration from the original Alice in Wonderland book, studied a lot of to get the cadence right. And I think it's a pretty cool introduction to Wonderland again.
Nice. Phil, what are you working on with this? I guess there's two Phils, but you know which Phil I was talking about.
Which one?
The one that unmuted me.
Oh, okay. On other shows, they end up calling me Other Phil. So
I was just gonna.
I'm working on the colors for War in the Garden with the mystic flowers. You got the mystic Cthulhu people trying to take over a bit of the flowery garden and how they deal with it.
Nice. Well, Well, while we're on Phil's, let's move on to the other Phil.
Hey everyone, I'm Phil too. I am the writer for The Curse of the Egg Yolk. I turned Humpty Dumpty into a dad, and he's a workaholic. And he while he's working, when he has a huge scientific breakthrough, he finds out his son dies, and that drives him to see if he can end the war in Neverland. Neverland, wow, I'm thinking huge. Sorry, Wonderland.
Getting cocky there, Phil.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oz,
spoilers.
right?
I'm gonna go back to muting myself.
At least you didn't say Oz, right, Travis?
Right.
And then last but not least, JW, what do you got going on?
Well, I was the artist and colorist on the story Tarts. It was written by Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon. It's about the Knave. It's probably about all I can really say, because it's got some secret things that happen in that story. That, but if you know who the Knave is, and it's about the tarts that go missing, the Queen's tarts. So.
Well, why don't we, rather than, kind of, we'll do this more of an open mic here for this next part, to allow you guys just to all share a little bit, that if you feel obligated or you want to, how did your involvement come about with this Kickstarter, with this anthology?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have a book called Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, which has now, it's the third volume. It's our most successful book series of all time. The third volume's on Kickstarter now. And Travis was in the second volume. And he didn't get into the second volume originally. Then he did then he actually produced the story that I rejected, and I went back begging for him to get this, to let me use the story because it was so good. From there, I have a very distinct process, I think, when running an anthology. And me and Travis talked, and he had an idea for Cthulhu Invades Oz, and I thought it was way better than the idea that I had, which is just lumping a bunch of Cthulhu stories together. And he was nice enough to invite me to do a story. And I got the Wicked Witch, which I've always wanted to do. So my two favorite characters of all time are probably the Wicked Witch, more so even than Dorothy, and Alice. So I was like completely in, especially with the fact that I have so much Lovecraft stuff in my past. Mm-hmm. And then when he came on the second one, I was like, I think he actually reached out to me and asked if I would do an Alice story. Probably because I talk about Alice incessantly all of the time, and how much I love the cadence and pacing of like, Alice is such a cool character, because like she goes into this situation that is completely foreign, and instead of insulting people or kicking people or punching people, she just kind of learns and takes things as it comes, and doesn't completely freak out when weird or bad things happen. And I think that's such a underutilized talent in writing and in books, that I thought it would be just the perfect, I think she's the perfect protagonist or antagonist of this series, of this book, because like Lovecraft's thesis was that you should be afraid of all things because they're scary and they don't care about you, and they would destroy you as soon as look at you, and it will drive you mad. And Alice, over the two books that she was in, proves that like you don't have to go mad when you see things that are like strange or interesting. Like you can question them, use the scientific method on them, and like and sort of roll with the punches a lot better than we've ever seen any of Lovecraft's people do. So it was like an easy yes, because like Oz and Wonderland are like the two things that I identify with the most as far as a writer goes.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Anyone else? How did you get connected with this anthology?
Well, me and Travis go all the way back to the first Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies. I've been working with Travis since then. So he just finds ways to put me in the books with Cthulhu Invades Oz. it was like the thing was done, and he's like, "Can you color 2 pages in 2 days?" So I ended up getting in it that way. And then, like I said, we've worked together for probably over 3 years now. So
Yeah.
Anyone else? How did you guys get connected with this?
Hey, Phil, you want me to go or do you want to go? It's up to you.
Sure, go ahead, Phil.
Go ahead.
The floor is yours, Phil.
All right, thank you. So I actually run a group on Facebook. It's called the Comic Book Anthology Creators. And Travis actually had a contest there, bringing in, it was pretty much, he had a page already drawn out and he wanted dialogue on the page. So we had a contest of something like maybe 15 creators. I did not win, but I did get the opportunity to pitch for this story. And I actually have a personal story with Humpty Dumpty, even though he's not a real character. I played Humpty Dumpty in my 4th grade play. So, you know, now that I'm a dad, I guess my life just went full circle. I started off as Humpty Dumpty, and now I'm writing a story about Humpty Dumpty as a dad.
That's awesome. That's great.
As far as me, I had to twist Travis's arm. No, I'm kidding. No, I've known Travis for a little while. I used to co-host an online show, and Travis would come on and show stuff. So that's where I first got introduced to him. And then when I was promoting a book at Silverline I worked on called White Devil, I was on, I believe it was Chuck's show?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck's show. And Travis has been meaning, to find something that my style would work with. And we're on the live show, and he's like, "You know what, Phil? I've got something for you to work on." So I was like all on board, and that's about how I got into this one.
Nice.
Is that about right? That sounds about right, Travis?
Yeah. Absolutely. That is the story. For me, how I got into it is I created it. That's what I did.
I mean, that's the easiest way to get involved with something. I was like,
it's the only person who'd hire me. Like Russell told you, like I didn't even get into his. I had to make it first. So that's just how I know how to do it. If you want to be in it, just fucking make it, and then someone will be like, "I guess you can have it."
Fine.
Make it, and they will come.
And Warren, how about you? How'd you get connected with this?
Well, I'm really new to comics. I've only been in it for about 3 or 4 years now. And when Cthulhu Invades Oz was going on, I absolutely loved the idea. So I thought I would just draw up a Cthulhu versus the Wicked Witch picture. And Travis saw it and really loved it, and asked if he could use it in the book, and it became the part of the collector's cover, and I was very honored for that. And then after that, I got called up to see if I wanted to do a story in Wonderland, and from there, for me, it's my first sequentials in an anthology. First time working with a writer that I've never met. It was a lot of firsts for me. It was a big project.
That's awesome.
Well, the other thing for him that I'd like to share too is he did a fan piece for Cthulhu Invades Oz that I saw.
Yeah.
And I said, I must have it. I want it. And I used it, and I can show you what I used it for. Not a lot of people get to see this. This is for the creator's edition. So if you've got a creator's copy, you got this, which is pretty cool. Hold on, let me see. Sorry, it's on the one at the bottom. So he did a really cool picture that I'm so proud of, that I made it the cover, and nobody knew about it. So it's that cover right there. Can you guys see that?
It's a comic book that Warren already showed off.
Did he? Well, well, then I'll show the page so it's bigger. How's that?
Oh, the first thing he showed off. Cool, thanks. That helps.
All right, whatever.
Thank you, Travis.
I was looking away. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm double dipping. I'm spamming the internet for the Kickstarter. I apologize. You can't.
Listen, I had to call it out because people are like, wait, is he showing the same book? Like, if I didn't call it out, someone would in the chat.
I brought people to distract you from my busyness, and it clearly failed.
Pay no attention to the man behind
Right.
you.
Bearded deserves all your attention or nothing. I get it.
This is it, gang. Listen, I'm a see you looking at your phone. I'm gonna ask you the next question. That's why Phil 1 is smart, has the camera off. So he's like,
I would have the camera on, but I'm in the middle of moving, so the camera is like not here right now. So I apologize for that.
No, you're fine. Oh man, that's so good. So with this process of, you know, being on a anthology, for those of you, what is it like? How different is it creating something for an anthology more so than like something that you create your own book or doing your own stuff that you've done, rather than these shorter stories that have to fit into kind of a theme?
I think Phil number 2 should answer that, since he's the king of anthologies.
Thank you, Travis. So I've only done anthologies. I have not, taken the next step into actually doing my own Kickstarter. I've been telling myself for the last year and a half, hey, Phil, just go out there, do it. And I'm scared. So that's something that I am right now building towards. And also, if anyone's watching and you're trying to come up, start with anthologies. Don't do the 60-page series, Why the Last Man, all right? When I first tried this in 2011, I had the dreams of creating the next Why the Last Man, doing something phenomenal. I should have started with shorts. I might be better off now. So write the shorts, focus on that, and then once you feel comfortable, move forward.
Anyone else, how's this differentiated for you from, maybe past projects that you've worked on, or, if it hasn't been a Kickstarter anthology or something?
A whole lot less stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For who?
I mean, I'm editing one that's on Kickstarter now, and I'm in the one that's on Kickstarter now, and they're less stressful both ways. Even though the amount of money that you have to raise, me and Travis are trying to raise basically the same amount of money. Ours went over yesterday morning, and we're at 32,000 now, and Travis is going to get there pretty soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a lot like less stress once the book is done, because you can say, hey, I have an interview tonight and no one signed up to be on here with me, who's available, and like you get 5 other people who are willing to come up and get your back, and or you can say, hey, we're low right now, can anyone send a newsletter out? Or for me, there's 75 people to rely on. So there's 75 people you also have to wrangle. But on the editorial side, instead of one artist being responsible for 80 pages, each person is only responsible for between 2 and 8 pages, which means if anyone flakes, you're max out 8 pages. You're not out the whole book. Whereas I did a book with an artist, and he got carpal tunnel and couldn't draw for 6 months. And that's you can't really, we were in the middle, literally dead in the middle of the book. And so what are you going to do? I don't want to bring someone in to cop his style or anything. So we just had to wait for 6 months, and that doesn't happen with when you're editing. It's a lot of stress until the final deadline passes. And then it's oh, cool, I have 180 pages. That's a book. Once you pass kind of the Rubicon of 100 pages that are in and submitted, you're okay, I've got a book. It's not embarrassing if I know what other pages come in. Probably less so for Travis, because he has a whole story going on. But for me, and as a contributor, our artist had a liberal definition of deadlines for this book, let's say. And so but it was only 6 pages, or 5 pages or something like that. And so if it was 80 pages we were short, it would have been much harder. It was a lot of stress because it was the first piece. It was the Alice piece.
It's Alice.
So it was I mean, not to I was this is the pivotal piece. This is Alice getting into Wonderland. I can't flake on this piece. It's got to be there. And not only that, but other people were waiting to see the piece so they could figure out how to write their piece. So there was a lot of that stuff, but it was 6 pages, and we ended up getting the pages, I think even by the coloring deadline, even though we didn't get anything else before then. So that was like very stressful, but it was like a 6-page amount of stress, not a 80-page amount of stress. And so really from either way, I think there's a ton of stress from everyone like asking you questions while the anthology is like being assembled. But once the thing is assembled and you've got a book, like it's so much less stress because you can be like, I know everyone's not going to do promotion, but at least at 25% of people are going to do promotion and some are going to go way above and beyond. And so like, I feel comfortable putting this big amount out there, which I probably never would do a $30,000 goal if it wasn't an anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it makes sense when you have, so many, cooks in the kitchen that you should have a good amount that are like, hey, we're gonna retweet this and send it out to get more eyes on the book. So I'm expecting this to be one of my most watched interviews because I've got 7 people right here that can tweet it out.
Yep.
No, you should expect that. I mean, really, like if we're doing our job and getting our stuff out, you actually should expect that. And what makes this one, so I don't do traditional anthologies. I do serial storytelling. Orange Cone is a storytelling company. So any anthologies that we do anthologies. We have this one, Holiday Spirits. We put a plot to it. So it's a little bit easier when it comes to Cthulhu Invades Oz and Wonderland, because I can kind of build that plot. But even stuff like Holiday Spirits, which is the prompt for everybody was, hey, create creepy holiday spirits. Then I had to build a narrative around it. It's a skill set that I have, but it makes it, like Russell said, way more difficult if somebody's behind, right? So if an Alice is behind, it makes it tough. And it wasn't even that it being late was the problem. It was that the design to Alice, if anybody wanted to use Alice, was behind. So that makes it complicated. But it's also, some of the fun of the anthologies is being able to tell it in a different way. Something I take a lot of pride in, that I want to tell these things in this way, because I don't know anybody else who does it, as far as I'm aware. Phil, tell me, does anybody else do it?
Sometimes.
Phil too, not Phil Leon, Phil too. Actually, yeah, Phil, our book, the Kaiju one is well played.
No, that's good. Like it's interesting to hear the process of, like you said, Russell, you were talking about how like if one person, with the style that Travis is, creating this anthology of like, well, we need to know that design, we need to know this so that the rest of the creators, can kind of branch off of that. Because it isn't just we're going to take 10 different stories that have a theme loose and throw it together or something. So we got writers, we've got artists on here. And we've talked kind of about, the stories a little bit, as well as, working on an anthology aspect and how is that different. What's the worst thing of working with Travis on?
Ask it. I want to hear
Do
it.
you have plenty of time? No,
Listen,
I'm kidding. I am kidding.
I have an actual answer. Travis only does things through video, and I hate video. I hate watching it. I hate watching any video. And I've told him so many times, please God, type this out so I don't have to sit through a 5-minute video. And he's like, you want to be involved in the project? This is how I roll. So I mean, it's a little thing, but like that's the worst. That's the worst part about it.
I also will say, if you work, my wife who's on Russell's newest book, she would like me to be more organized. Russell's very thick. Like, here's the deadlines. I'm going to kick you out. I'm just like, you guys are my friends. We're going to make it happen. It's going to be fine. Just a very loose thing. And we always hit it, like, because I do get serious, but I run a very loose thing versus Russell. I don't know how I accomplish it, to be honest. Like, it is amazing.
Travis and Heather, they're very optimistic and positive.
Right.
I'm not stressed out at all. So that's really helpful.
That is it, because that filters in. So for the
I'm the only one saying a bad thing about Travis, really? Like, really?
If someone else wants to jump in, I just wasn't going to leave it awkwardly there for time of like, all right, guys, no, literally.
Sometimes it takes them a while to get back to you. You need to ask Travis something. It might take a little while for him to get back to you. And then,
Nah. No.
like,
I want to
maybe.
be in the rest of the Travis anthology, so I have nothing negative to say. Right, Travis? Nothing.
Good answer.
I've been on a lot of these live streams with him, and it seems to me that like he likes being negged. Like it's a thing that he does, like in other things I'm part of. So like,
I mean, James has to have something. I mean, we worked on enough projects together, you know, and I give him like 1 day notice most of the time. Like, but to be fair, I've given him longer notice if it doesn't work out. The shorter notice you can give James, the better.
It's true. It's true.
I can lament though with Travis sometimes doesn't get back to you right away, you know, because I did send out like, hey, do you want to do it? I can do it the 22nd or 23rd
Yes.
at 9:30, and Travis is like, that works. That was the message. I gave him 2 dates and he goes, that works. And then he texts me today. He goes, are we still good for tonight? I'm like, we never decided tonight or tomorrow. So
But
so I
if we
I
did
texted
this,
my wife, I was like,
we're
hey.
here.
I was like, listen, I have an interview tonight. She goes, what? I go, well, yeah, I didn't know what was happening because we never confirmed actually which date.
Don't worry, we didn't know either. So
That's not true. I had it on the calendar.
He had Alexa programmed, man.
I'm just glad you all knew when the interview was. And I didn't.
To be fair, like I looked at the interview thing and everyone, so Blake's doing one right now as well, like literally just started. Blake's Buzz, you know Blake, right?
Yeah, Buzz.
Yeah, but like they're all on that one right now doing that. We'll maybe invade it after, but so I had to make sure that it was lined up and even, that we had enough creators, because I didn't want you to be undercut, because you need the best people. So I was like, Russell, you can raise as much as me, so let's get you on. JW is my boy. Phil runs anthologies, so this is the better crew. Don't tell them that.
Blake doesn't watch my stuff, so it's okay. And
We're good.
So we're good. Like we tweet, but I don't
Right.
think he'll watch this. But I would hope that he
Right,
that
sure,
I got the
yeah.
best. Like
I mean, they got Chuck. I mean, nobody cares about Chuck Pino. Yeah,
I mean, now I have to watch his interview to make sure that I got the best. I'm looking at who you lined up and who I lined up, and as I read the anthology, I'm like, all right, art's not as good as this. Oh,
I gave you F and Alice. Alice is here. What else you want?
You're right. So how did the pairings, and you can answer this, Travis, or anyone, how did the pairings of the groups come together? Was it, because I know I think it was JW, you said you kind of, you know, first time working with someone, or maybe it was Warren that you hadn't worked with before.
Yeah, this was the first time I worked with someone I've never known before. So like,
Okay. So was the process a little bit of, you know, maybe Travis, you can speak to this a little bit of getting like, hey, these are my friends, or these are the creators I really want to get involved with this book, and then kind of pairing them up, and or was it kind of some came as a pair, or some you're like, how did that?
It's both. It's basically, you know, if you don't have a pairing, like Warren said, this is kind of early for him.
Yeah,
I'll pair you up, or something like JW. I know he can do anything. He can do art, he can do colors, he can do letters, he can do the whole thing. So whatever we need JW for, he can fit. So getting a team connected with him. So it depends on what you need, you know. So if someone needs it, but actually for this one, I think Matt asked you, didn't they? Matt Knowles asked you, yeah.
Yeah. Because I had actually done a cover for that tribute cover for
Right.
a friend at the same time, so they just kept working with.
But like people like Russell has a list of people he wants to work with. So, you know, he just went through that list. So it depends on what they needed. So if someone needed it, you know, once your story was approved, I went to the next phase. And if someone needed an artist, I would pair them up. But it gets complicated that way, because we do have a page rate, and they have to split that page rate from people. So that gets complicated sometimes. Yeah. I was part of negotiations sometimes. So it gets weird sometimes, but it's all for the betterment of the book. You know, I have no problem finding someone a pairing, but it's always better if you find a pairing.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like none of you got paired up with Stoney, so that worked out well for all of you. So.
I mean, he effing colored in my last book. He's a writer. I don't understand.
Well, I want to also just kind of go around, because, you know, besides Travis, this is the first time for all of you to be on my show. I would really just like to know a little bit of, some of your past projects that you worked on, as well as maybe stuff that you can talk about, in the future of just what you got going on with comics. And I want to make sure you all have enough time. So Travis, I know you'll probably have another Kickstarter here next week, and then another one launching 2 weeks after that. So we can skip you for right now.
That sounds fair.
Warren, what about you? What do you got going on, or that you, in past? I know you said you're kind of new to comics.
This last year, I did a pinup book called Dungeons and Dames for Sinopa Press, William Samuel Quentin's book or company. And we might be doing another one of those, but he's really busy. He's got like 3 different books coming out this year, so I'm not quite sure if we're going to get that in. I'm also doing a horror anthology story with Phil Leon for Antrocity Press, Max DeVille written story, and he's putting together a horror anthology for the end of the year. And when I'm not doing that stuff, I am working on my own series called The Adventures of Sig and Joe, a little tale of sci-fi adventure story, kind of about family, chock full of action and a bunch of 80s and 90s movies references and a bunch of pop culture stuff.
Some anthropomorphism.
Yep, anthropomorphism. My 2 main characters, Joe and Sig, are a walking and talking coffee cup and cigarette who are fighting against robots and all sorts of crazy stuff that I draw. That's kind of what got me. My first project in comics was my own. I used it to learn. I'm using it to just get as much experience in those 10,000 hours you need in. And it's kind of led me to where I am at now, doing this anthology and hopefully more in the future. But yeah, I also have I'm going to be doing some grayscaling for another project for a friend of mine, and I have at least 3 more creator stories that I want to do. So yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff planned.
Nice. What about you, JW?
Well, right now I don't really am working on anything. I have like 2 pages I need to finish coloring for Travis, which I have to ask him a question about. But who knows if he'll get back to me, let me know about.
You never asked it.
Well, it's because I have to, because there's some characters I don't know what color they are. So, but anyway, I pretty much worked with Travis on everything.
I'm sorry.
I actually think behind him he has a page that I colored hanging up there.
Is there one up there?
I can't tell. I thought maybe that the broke down page at the bottom. It kind of looked like.
No, the one over the right. The only thing you did is the one over the right.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. But so yeah, I did that. I've worked on some other little stuff. I have my own book that I kickstarted last year that I'm having some printing problems. I thought it was done, and I got a bunch of books back in their pages out of order, which is lovely. And now there's paper shortages, and I'm just going insane with that. So I'm probably going to change printers for next time because it's a hassle.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just have my own stuff. Like I said, Omni. I have a book, Project 34, that I'm working on. I do all the art, wrote, drew, colored, everything for that. That's about it. I'm really open to find some work actually right now. It's unusual that I'm not working on something. Like
yeah. So. Oh, I'm sure Travis has a Kickstarter here, like I said, coming up soon.
I do have stuff actually that I'm sending to him very soon. It's just not ready yet.
Let's go, Phil. Too. What have you worked on? What are you working on?
In the last 2 years, I've been on Nightmare Theater Volume 1 and Volume 2. I did a Neverland anthology where I did the origin of Captain Hook and how he was like the original Peter Pan of Neverland. And in the next few months, I have 3 to 4 anthologies coming out. I don't have dates yet, but I am really excited to. I'll share it here. I wrote a story inspired by my son, and I titled it "The Trees Whisper Our Sins." It's a 6-page story, and I'm reuniting with Don Cardenas, who actually is the artist for pretty much all my anthologies. Okay. We did The Curse of the Egg Yolk for Travis's anthology, and that's hopefully coming out in June.
Nice. What about you, Phil? One.
Me, I mainly started out working as a colorist. Actually, a place me and James were both at over at Wonder Funders many years back now. And God, I've done a lot of titles. I started out as a colorist and ended up getting pulled in to do an editorial and AD work. I was an editor-in-chief for a couple books over at Divided District Studios. I've done covers for a lot of different companies, and I also do interiors. The last one that just got out was over at Silverline Comics. We put out White Devil over there. I'm working on issue 2 of that as I go. Of course, working on the Cthulhu project. Just working on Kaiju Mania, helping a little bit on the pre-press and editorial over there, along with the colors, did cover over there and one of the stories, and then I ended up picking up another one of the stories over there. Let's see, the anthology with Warren, over at Atrocity Press that we'll be getting together. And let's see, and occasionally me and Warren, when I kick it back into gear, I do a live drawing and just general talking drawing coloring stream with Warren that I call the Zen Den. And a little, just a little bit here and there, some stickers for some people, possibly working with Rich Parada on one of his upcoming projects. But yeah, just that's about it.
Nice. And what about you, Russell? What have you, what's some stuff you've worked on in the past? What stuff you got going on now?
Oh, I've worked on just so many things in the past. It'll take all day to go through all the stuff I've done in the past.
You can give us some highlights.
So my biggest series is called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter. That's what people usually know me from if they don't know Cthulhu. It's about a psychopath that escapes a mental asylum and becomes a monster hunter, but doesn't know if he's killing monsters, humans, or it's all in his head the whole time. In September or August, actually, we are ending that series with the 4th volume. So that'll be 16 issues, all in hardcover. I also have a big series called The Godsverse Chronicles, which is ending in June. At 11 novels and 3 graphic novels. So that's a big universe there. But the biggest thing that I do is we are ending our Cthulhu is Hard to Spell universe. At least I am going to stop editing the Cthulhu is Hard to Spell anthology series after this volume. Whether it continues on or not is to be determined. But we've had 107 stories, almost 500 pages of art. Across 3 volumes, and it's on Kickstarter now at CthulhuIsHardToSpell.com. It's very different than Travis's anthology series. It is all ages for one. It is vignettes of different gods and monsters of Lovecraft's universe. So the one rule is you have to prominently feature one of the gods and monsters or monsters of the universe, which is kind of the exact opposite of what Lovecraft did. Lovecraft's thing was if you see the monsters, you'll go insane. And so we show them in all of their glory. And it's a really cool series. And now that we've funded the 3rd volume, we raised over $100,000 on Kickstarter for it. The 3rd volume has a big wrestling cover and a big wrestling story inside across the whole anthology, which is Cthulhu versus Zeus for the fate of the universe. And then I do mostly novel stuff now. I've written over 40 novels. I release about 10 or 11 books a year. And I have something theoretically, possibly that's coming up. But we have to Travis and I have to talk more about that one thing.
Okay.
Super secret project.
Nice. And Travis, I do want to let the people know what do you got coming up? So I know they've heard of you of past projects on here, but I know you were talking last time. You had a full slate here.
Yeah, we have a full slate. So the next thing on the docket is Voodoo Nation 3. That's in May. Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies Trade is in June. Pop Van Wiggles in July. I have Something Secret in October. Not the same secret as Russell, a different secret. And then I have Holiday Spirits 2 in November. And that'll wrap up the year.
Wow. So As we're getting close to wrapping up, is there anything, about this anthology or about comics that you're working on that we haven't had the chance to kind of just talk about, that you're like, we should hit this up real quick?
You know what, Greg? Can I share one thing?
Go
Like I
for it.
mentioned,
That's yeah.
For those that are watching, if you have a dream of being a writer, or an artist, just do it. You have nothing to lose. You might be working 9 to 5 and it sucks, but just write a page a night. You never know what you can do.
Love it.
Yeah, I'll say something. So if this funds, most of these guys know it, but I'll announce it here in case someone who's out there doesn't. We will, if this funds, assuming everything's good, which it's going in that right direction, we'll be doing Neverland, which will be the next volume of this, maybe the last volume, but at least one more volume of this.
Nice.
That's super cool. Yeah, I guess my piece would be everyone wants to be in an anthology, no one wants to run one. So like almost always I run into people saying, how did you get into anthologies? And I tell them, the first 7 years of my career, I was in a grand total of 0 anthologies, no matter how many times I submitted. Then I ran my own. It raised $27,000, unlocked like a bunch of cool stuff for me in my career. But mostly what it did was like suddenly I was getting invited to anthologies, mostly from creators who were in the anthology and then went off to do their own. But after that, it splintered off into other things and people would see the anthologies and we did 2, 3, 4. So really there's like, it is so much easier to get people, it's so much harder to get into anthologies when you don't know anyone than you would, that anyone will have you believe. And it's so much easier to get people to get involved in anthologies that you run than anyone would like you to believe. So like really, if you are like banging your head against the wall, like congratulations, like we all bang our head against the wall. I've been rejected from anthologies. Travis has been rejected from my anthology and eventually got in. Like but like the only one you won't ever get rejected from is your own anthology, and the only one where you can have the vision of what is going to happen. And like maybe it's a great vision, maybe it's a terrible vision, I don't know, but like it will definitely, assuming you're not a jerk, like give you a group of creators that you can rely on for the rest of your career, because there's nothing like asking someone to create pages and then them doing it that gives you confidence in them as a creative human, and allows you to be like, yes, I vouch for this person because I gave him a piece of thing to do. He returned it and it was good. And once you can reliably do that piece of it, like the word of mouth spreads and you end up, things get unlocked a whole lot easier.
Absolutely.
Well, gang, this has been a lot of fun. I always like to end my interviews with like, where can people find you? I'm just going to say this. Check the description of this video. I'll have everyone's links down because otherwise there'll be 10 minutes of I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and we're going to forget all the names. So it's going to be in the link of this video. Go check it out. Go support these Kickstarters that we've talked about. Obviously we're talking about Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. Go support it. Every little bit helps. I know we're, going to be airing this towards the tail end of the Kickstarter, which is just as important, because I'm sure it unlocks stretch goals and things like that. I don't know, maybe it doesn't, but either way.
Actually, that reminds me of something.
Go for it.
If you've already backed Cthulhu, it's hard to spell. You can if you back Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, both at the physical level, you get a very cool bookmark. Nice. that Jerome Gagnon designed. So if you've backed one or not backed either, like you also, on top of all the other stuff that you get a cool bookmark.
And when does the Kickstarter for Cthulhu is hard to spell end?
The 7th for us, the 14th for Travis.
Okay. So by the time this video airs, you can still back both. So you can still walk into that. Go check it out for sure. Click the links of these creators in the description of the video. Go support them. Retweet, like their stuff. Go support them with what they're creating, because this is an awesome community. And the comic people are awesome. Go support these creators, because if we don't, we're not going to get awesome stuff to like and talk about. So go support what they're creating.
Well, and you got Cthulhu Invades Oz, right? So you enjoyed that. You've seen it. Yeah, right on your shelf somewhere.
Cthulhu is hard to. Oh, I was thinking it was a thicker boy. It's not as thick as it was Nightmare. Someone mentioned Nightmare, which is a little thicker anthology, so that's why I got lost. But it's right by Civil War. So,
Which is basically the same thing.
right. I mean,
it's a good market. It's a Civil War.
Right. See,
I mean, not so civil, but yeah.
I was sad to hear that, Neverland might be the last, Cthulhu. I was hoping for a Cthulhu Invades Gotham or something, and I could write for that. But
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you know anybody at DC, we can talk about it, but I don't know.
we'll call it something. We'll call it like Goth Herm or something.
What's great? The secret is I've got to own a CCG company, right? Like make a CCG game, make that be semi-successful, then I can buy the licensing to get it and then get one spin-off comic that's 20 pages.
There we go. There it is.
And they won't let me write it probably. They'll probably give it to Chuck Dixon, somebody who's like no longer around. Like they'll find someone. They'll be like, well, you'll get someone good. They're like, Chuck, he has written a big, Chuck Dixon has written a book. I just can't think of anybody else right now.
It's
Devin Grayson. That's a good one. A former Nightwing writer. I haven't seen her write anything in years. Put her on there.
There you go. There you go. Well, gang, thank you all for taking some time out of your night to talk about comics and talk about your part. Now I can't tell either of the Phils apart. So they're both the same.
But
No, you don't have last names or anything.
for the first time ever, my son actually woke up and had to use the potty in the middle of the night. I'm like, what's going on? So I had to run make sure there were no accidents. So I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't listen. Last names are no fun to use. It's more fun to be confused with.
Wait, Phil, is that a service you provide? So if I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I'm worried about something,
You just give me a
Call him
call.
up. I need help through this, man.
We'll talk you through it, Travis. We'll talk you
My
through
wife wasn't moving, so I was like, I guess I have to do it.
Well, again, thank you all for taking some time. For those of you at home listening on the podcast or watching this YouTube, again, go support the Kickstarter, go support these creators. With that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.